Hello, good morning, one and all. Dear students, we are going to start our second poem today, An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum. Before we go on with the explanation and the recitation of the poem, let us discuss the topic first. The topic is An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum. You all are familiar with what is a slum and what are the physical conditions of the people living in the slum as well as of the area. You have read about a big slum area in Simapuri near Delhi. You have read about Sahib-e-Alam, who was a rag picker, how they pass their time, how they earn their living, how precious money is for them, what kind of houses they live in, and what are the facilities that are provided to them. When we talk about an elementary school classroom in a slum, definitely it refers to government aided schools which are opened for these children in any slum. So the poem is written by Stephen Spender. So let us know a little details about the poet. The full name of the poet is Sir Stephen Harold Spender, who was born on 18th February 1909 in London, in England. He was a poet, a novelist, and an essayist, and his major stream of works is based on social injustice and class struggle. Some of his notable works are The God That Failed, which was written in 1949, The Trial of Judge, written in 1938 before The God That Failed, The Temple dates back to 1928, and The Backward Son, which was written in 1940. Stephen Spender was one of the pioneers of poetic movement in the 1930s. He took a keen interest in social and political problems of his times. As a social reformer and as a pacifist, he questions the value of education and the morals and ethics of individuals. He refers to the trials and tribulations of the post-war Europe, and these all find expression in his verse and prose both. In the poem An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum, Stephen Spender beautifully brings out the themes of social injustice and class inequalities. Now, going to the source of the poem, An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum, a perfect social satire, is taken from the book The God That Failed, which, as we have already read, was first published in 1949. The background of the poem, as already discussed, is a post-war situation when lots of slums they flourished all over Europe. Written in 1964, the poem is an example of Spender's political voice resonating in the poem. He expresses his ideological positions on government, economics, and education. The students in this classroom are underprivileged and malnourished, and therefore physically lean and thin, without any excitement in their attitude or in their voices. And then the capitalistic government is supposed to supply equal opportunity for education, but the classroom in the slum offers little hope for any change or for any progress in their lives. In this poem, Spender, he does not name any nation or any race. The poem, it appears to be a response to the global question concerning social injustice, which was an essential issue in the American civil rights movement of the time. Throughout the poem, the poet's tone changes from pensive to belligerent and finally from frustration to an appeal. Coming to the structure of the poem, the total poem is of 32 lines and is divided into 4 equal stanzas of 8 lines each. The poem does not have any particular rhyme scheme and is written in free verse. We find extensive use of alliteration, personification, inversion, allusion, lots of metaphors used in the poem, pun, enjambment, symbolism, and imagery. The form of the poem is a lyrical poem which speaks about the lives of the young children in any slum area all over the globe. The lives of these poor children are sad and unpleasant. The use of poetic devices and images conveys the narrator's feelings of sympathy and anger. The images, they convey the poverty, hunger, neglect of the state schools in the slums. Therefore, the poet lays importance on the role of education and he highlights the significant role of teachers in their upliftment. What is the theme of the poem? What we can say, the central idea of the poem. As already discussed, the poem touches upon 2 themes, the themes of social injustice and class inequality. It questions the value of education in a slum. It exposes the widespread neglect of these children who are uncared for. They are like rootless weeds. It gives the readers a description of malnourished children with pale faces, stunted growth, and twisted bones. They are devoid of any opportunity and they have become a prey to social injustice. Therefore, the poet attacks on the capitalistic economies in which the rich are becoming richer, and even as more and more problems and miseries mire the lives of the poor people. Yet, the poem does not dwell upon pessimism only. It ends on an optimistic note with the message that there are solutions to this problem and the lot of these children can definitely be improved. It highlights the role of the educators and the more privileged class in the society to liberate the children and infuse them with human creativity. It appeals to the rulers, the law enforcing bodies, and the philanthropists represented by the governor, inspector, visitor in the last stanza to improve the condition of the children in the slums, which can be done through education. The poem raises concerns like sensitivity towards the underprivileged, equity, equality, awareness, philanthropy, optimism, determination, and the need to change the condition of these children essentially, so that there is no gap between the rich and the poor and the society can stand on an equal forum. Therefore, the poem conveys a very important message. It appeals to the rulers, the law enforcing bodies, and the philanthropists represented by the governor, inspector, visitor to improve the condition of the children in the slums, which can be done only through education. Spender demands equal opportunities for education for the poor and the underprivileged because education seems to be the only tool to remove the disparity of classes from the society. For this, he has used a lot of poetic devices. We will be discussing the poetic devices one by one. First, let us take the examples of the metaphors used. The gusty waves. Definitely, the waves cannot be gusty. It is the strong winds which make the waves to rise high in the seas and which convey the privileged children who are compared to these gusty waves, who are full of energy and are very exuberant, just contrasted to the appearance of these children residing in the slums. The second metaphor is futures painted with a fog, which refers to the future of the slum children, which has been compared to the fog because it is uncertain and unclear. Fog, as you already know, it speaks about the miseries and troubles and the terrible times in people's lives. Next metaphor is sealed in with a lead sky, which refers to the dull and grey color of the sky and also the depressing future of the slum children. The stars of words refers to the words or literature written by writers like Shakespeare, who is said to be the epitome of English literature. And this literature that create images which are as bright, beautiful and inspiring like stars. That is, light can come into the lives of these people only through education. From fog to endless night refers to the future of the slum children, which is without any ray of hope, a future that can only go from bad to worse. Fog refers to the early morning time when the sky is covered with fog. Endless night refers to late time in the evening. Therefore, these children are toiling very hard right from early morning till late in the night to earn a living. Where skins peeped through by bones refers to the thin, emaciated bodies of the children, which has been reduced to mere skin and bodies. Let their tongues run naked into books refers to the act of allowing children to get the taste or have the experience. They experience the variety of life as depicted in the books or giving the children an experience of the beautiful, bright world outside the depressing confines of the slum. That is, opportunities being provided to them for free education and freedom being granted to them to enjoy themselves in the midst of nature like the privileged people. Next image is whose language is the sun. Refers to the children who live in pleasant surroundings and thereby have happier lives because sun symbolizes opportunities, good opportunities and the light that falls into the lives of the people who are wealthy and rich. Next figure of speech is simile. Like rootless sweets, similes are introduced by words like or as or such as. So like rootless sweets, the children have been compared to weeds or the unwanted section of the society. The second simile is like bottle bits on stones. The spectacles frame their stony-eyed expressions or their hard faces. Windows that shut upon their lives like catacombs. Now, what are catacombs? Catacombs are referred to underground burial chambers. And any burial chamber, these burial chambers were built like in a tunnel and they had only one gate which acted as an entrance and as an exit. Once a tomb was kept, once a coffin was kept inside, the gate was closed and there was darkness again in these catacombs. So the classroom and the homes in which the slum children live have been compared to underground burial chambers like catacombs. Pun. The word is reciting, which has a literal meaning, and the literal meaning is that the boy in the classroom is reciting his lesson. But the figurative meaning of this word reciting is that he is more prominently reciting his father's disease, that is, he has inherited his father's disease of twisted bones and deformity. Generally, when we talk about inheritance, people start imagining about wealth and money and other facilities and shelter, good houses the people get from their parents. Sour cream. Literally, it means the neglected walls have turned a dirty yellow. The walls which had once been painted by the money donated by some rich person, for lack of upkeep, have become very dirty. The figurative meaning, a dismal place where all dreams turn sour. In this case, the classroom, because the children are not allowed to dream of a better future in their lives. Lead sky. The literal meaning is sky polluted with industrial fumes, and the figurative meaning is a sky that does not open opportunities for these people. Coming to the images and symbols used in the poem, the tall girl is shown with her weighed down head. It refers to the burden of poverty and hopelessness that weighs down the slum children. It's because the society also treats them in a very humiliating manner, and they have got lots of burdens of poverty and responsibility on their home, on their shoulders. Next image is a rat's eyes. A rat has blinking eyes, and it is always watchful and seems to be scared and afraid, full of fear. And it is always looking for something to eat because seems to be hungry all the time. And therefore the children also who are malnourished keep on looking for something to fulfill their hunger. Squirrel's game. Something that helps the child to escape the grim reality of his surroundings. The squirrel plays in the hole, or it lives in the tree room and seems to enjoy itself freely without any bondage. So there are dreams in one of the children's eyes who is sitting at the back of the STEM class, and he seems not to be affected by the miseries and difficulties of life as yet. Civilized dome riding or cities. Cities that show the progress of civilization and its marvelous architecture. Also personification, this also shows personification, riding all cities as if it's a human being and who's riding all cities. Open-handed map. A map drawn arbitrarily by the people in power and the privileged, and therefore all the good places, all the natural beauties are marked on these maps, and none of the slum areas are ever shown here. Map with slums as big as Doom. The grim reality of the lives of the slum children. Like doom means death, which keeps on stalking its victim at any time and at any place. Similarly, the miseries of all these children, the difficulties, they keep on following them, and there is no escape from these difficulties in the lives for these slum children. Fog is that their future is like a fog, and fog always refers to darkness. It is gray in color, or it is symbolized by dark color, black color, and therefore the future of these children is bleak and unclear. Ships and sun. Ships refers to adventurous voyages, and the beautiful lands. The sun refers to the opportunities. Slag heaps, industrial waste, which is toxic and full of filth and squalor. Windows, windows of the slum classroom that do not open out to opportunities and the wide world. They show only fog-covered slums where they are confined. They can peep through these windows, but they can never come out of these windows. Green fields, gold sand, color, happiness, nature, and golden opportunities. Sand, you will find the gold sand always on the seashores, where sun is reflected on the uh, sand which is wet. Green fields refers to the beauties and bounties of Mother Nature, and therefore these things are devoid in the lives of all these people, therefore no opportunities. White and green leaves. White leaves refers to the pages of the books and therefore points out to the opportunities of education that these children should be provided. Green leaves refers to nature. Therefore, these children should break the shackles, start asking for their rights, demanding for opportunities, and the freedom for enjoying themselves in the lap of Mother Nature. Run azure. Experience the rich colors of the blue waves. Blue is considered to be the color of hope. Therefore, they want to be hopeful in their lives, as well as the poet also hopes that these people will be getting their opportunities in life. Sun. Sun is the symbol of enlightenment, clarity, equality, and purity. Alliteration. You know, it is the repetition of sound. So there are many examples of alliteration. Some of these have been mentioned here, like break, oh break open till they break the town. The very opening lines of the poem, far, far from gusty waves. Bottle bits on stones, like in the third stanza of the poem. And surely Shakespeare is wicked, also the reference to the third stanza in the poem. All these devices, all these figures of speech we will be discussing one by one as we will be taking up our explanation and recitation of the poem stanza wise in our next lesson. So please go through the poem, read the poet's biography, and be prepared for coming up with explanations as you might be imagining them to be. Then we will be discussing and we will be taking out the meanings of the different lines from the poem. Thank you.